I am standing in the center and decided to vote present.
So last night, as I covered during a live stream, the House voted to impeach Donald Trump on 2 articles of impeachment. So the votes went 230 to 197 to 1 on the first article and 229 to 198 to 1 on the second article. Now, the 1 in both of those articles is a present vote. So not voting either yes or no. It's a present vote, and the vote is from Democratic Representative of Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard. Now, before I get into it, this doesn't really matter, ultimately. I mean, impeachment passed with a majority, clearly. Tulsi Gabbard isn't even running for re-election. So, like, this entire discussion really, I gotta say, doesn't really matter. But the reason I'm talking about it is because I find it incredibly interesting and just totally weird. In addition to Tulsi Gabbard, as I'm going to show you her reasoning for this, in her own video, she contradicts herself. So, look, this was clearly a vote that was 100% self-serving. It's meant to get her in the headlines, which unfortunately is even working on me right now. And there are people speculating out there that she's angling for an eventual gig at maybe Fox News or some other outlet. I mean, she's clearly building some sort of odd, weird, conservative support base. So, but apart from all that, I really just want to dig into how crazy her reasoning is. So I'm going to show you the tweet that went out with her video. So she tweeted here, a house divided cannot stand, and today we are divided. Fragmentation and polarity are ripping our country apart. Today I come before you to make a stand for the center, to appeal to all of you to bridge our differences and stand up for the American people. Okay. Standing for the center. If any other politician said what Tulsi Gabbard said here, Tulsi's own supporters would laugh at her or laugh at whatever politician said that. Because this is just the standard both sides BS. When clearly, looking at the evidence, and according to Tulsi Gabbard herself, she agrees that Trump is guilty. So, look, let me show you this 4-minute clip. And again, if you haven't seen my previous videos and my thoughts on impeachment, yes, there's a lot more that they could have gone after Trump for. This call to Ukraine, it's almost like getting, Al Capone on tax evasion. There's a lot more things that are a lot worse than this call to Ukraine that there could have been articles of impeachment over. But let's get past that for a second. Let's watch a bit of her reasoning here. So this is a 4-minute clip. I'm not going to play the whole 4 minutes, but I'm going to play a bit of this, and then I'm going to show you another piece where she contradicts herself. But first, let me show you the first clip.
So after doing my due diligence in reviewing the 658-page impeachment report, I came to the conclusion that I could not in good conscience vote either yes or no. I am standing in the center and decided to vote present. I could not in good conscience vote against impeachment because I believe President Trump is guilty of wrongdoing. I also could not in good conscience vote for impeachment because removal of a sitting president must not be the culmination of a partisan process fueled by tribal animosities that have so gravely divided our country.
Okay, this is just complete BS. The only reason that impeachment has been a partisan process is because the Republicans have made it into one. Despite all the evidence, despite the fact that Tulsi Gabbard agrees Trump is guilty, she votes present. Like, when you have one party not willing to accept reality, that doesn't make their argument equal to the Democratic Party argument. Now, again, the Democratic Party has many issues. They could have pushed a lot harder on Trump. I mean, they really could have pushed for impeachment much earlier on other things. But in this instance, one side has the facts, one side doesn't. Even Tulsi Gabbard agrees. The Democratic Party has the facts because she believes that Trump is guilty. Now, this goes to the point that I'm going to make here. Tulsi Gabbard contradicts herself in this clip. So later on in her 4-minute video, she goes on to quote Alexander Hamilton, about his fears about the impeachment process becoming, about the party that has the most power dictating what's happening, and not really being about, guilt or innocence. So I'm going to play this piece where she's quoting Alexander Hamilton, and then go back and play a piece of what I just showed you.
In the Federalist Papers, Alexander Hamilton warned against any impeachment that would merely, quote, connect itself with the pre-existing factions and enlist all their animosities, partialities, influence, and interest on one side or on the other. In such cases, he said, there will always be the greatest danger that the decision will be regulated more by the comparative strength of parties than by the real demonstrations of innocence or guilt. Because I believe President Trump is guilty of wrongdoing, than by the real demonstrations of innocence or guilt. Because I believe President Trump is guilty of wrongdoing.
What else do I have to say? Tulsi Gabbard herself quotes Alexander Hamilton, how he was worried that this would be about, it wouldn't be about guilt or innocence. But then she, in the beginning of her clip, she says that she believes Donald Trump's guilty. So doesn't that prove to you that this impeachment process is actually about innocence and guilt, and you only have one party, the GOP, not recognizing that? It's right there. She says it herself, that this should be about guilt or innocence. And she believes Trump's guilty. So that should be a yes vote. Like, this shows you this is all done for her own personal gain. There was no reason for her to have voted present except for her to make headlines like she knew she would, and for her to possibly angle for a future job where she can appeal to conservatives. That's it. As Walker Bragman tweets out here in response to Gabbard's statement, this is insipid nonsense. The president clearly abused his power when he used the weight of his office to try to pressure a foreign nation into investigating a political rival in the middle of an election cycle, standing up to that, literally the bare minimum. And that's exactly right. Look, you can have criticisms of the Democratic Party and how they didn't do enough here, and I completely agree with you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't vote yes on the bare minimum. These two articles of impeachment are the bare minimum, and she votes present. Again, showing you this is completely self-serving. There is no reason to have voted this way except you knew that it would get you attention and potentially help you appealing to conservatives later on. A follower of mine also made a great point. Quiet Island tweeted out here, if she knew she was going to remain neutral, she should have polled her district and voted how they wanted. She's in Washington to represent their interests, not her conscience. Yeah, this is another way she could have taken it. You don't want to vote for impeachment for whatever reason? Okay, fine. As you say, you want to listen to the American people. Let's listen to the will of the people. Okay, poll your district on how you should vote on impeachment and then vote their way. But again, it's not about representing people. It's about making headlines. She's not running for re-election. So she's angling for some kind of new job in the future. She's angling for her weird base of people that are conservative, and some of them think they're progressive. Like, just this weird combination that I don't really quite understand. But she's trying to play to that base. That's all this is about. And on the idea that she's also discussed this many times. Gabbard has discussed how, impeachment is divisive. It's very divisive. Politics is divisive. Why did you become a representative to vote present on something as massive as articles of impeachment? Like, it's crazy to me. Every political issue is divisive. Medicare for all, divisive. Green New Deal, divisive. Impeachment, divisive. Free college, divisive. Like, everything is divisive because you're always going to have a side or different sides representing various interests. So Republicans are right now just looking after their own butts. They don't want to be voted out. The base, the GOP base, is largely pro-Trump, so they're appealing to that base. Gabbard sitting in the center. It's not really sitting in the center. You're sitting in the center between two parties that are both on the right side of the spectrum. So you're still on the right. Again, voting yes on 2 articles of impeachment that barely scratch the surface of Trump's crimes is the bare minimum. And what's crazy is on the same day she brought up this resolution. Tulsi Gabbard calls on House to censure president for putting personal political gain over national interest. So in this resolution, she brings up some of Trump's other crimes that should be discussed during this impeachment process. And she's correct. But why can't you do this while at the same time doing the bare minimum and voting yes on the 2 articles of impeachment in front of you? Again, because it's not actually about any of this. It's about making headlines. It's about personal gain. It's about appealing to your base. That's all this is.